Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Paul?
I can hear you. I got a moron calling me here that I put on there, and I put your cell phone on hold. So yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I'm muting.
All right. All right, so welcome to the Planning and Code Administration Department webinar series here. Today, we're going to be presenting here from our Neighborhood Services team. And what we're going to do is kind of go over a technical review of a particular aspect of our department. And this one, we can say it's technical, but it's basically what can we do online with our department here? I want you all to know that this is not a full comprehensive review, that this is just kind of covering the most frequently asked things that we kind of have come up with our office or some of the calls that we get into our office. You know, you can always consult with our office if you have any questions, if you need to get a better understanding of how things are done. To always ask a question, you can always either tap or click on the Q&A button that's at the bottom of your screen that you can certainly type in your question, and we'll get to it as time allows. But we will not interrupt while we're presenting here along to ask those types of questions. Today, like I've already mentioned, is that our technical aspects that we're calling is actually for online. What can you do online with our office? A lot of times people feel that you always have to come into our office. And of course, during these times where limited interaction with people, there's actually a lot of things you can do online with us and you can continue to do online and we have done previously. Today, Emily McFarland is going to be our expert for what we can do online here. Emily is not only is she certified as a property maintenance inspector with the International Code Council, Emily also has her bachelor's degree from communications, so she'll be able to clearly communicate to us on everything that we need to do online here. And now I'm going to turn everything over to Emily here to let you know what we can do online.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Emily. I manage the rental license and vacant structure programs. I also do all of the administrative work for citations and abatements, donation bins, and I assist with the newsletter. The city's website contains a lot of information, and today we'll cover how to navigate the website and what information to enter. If you would like to see something added to our website, please send us an email at codecompliance@hagerstownmd.org. Okay, so to get started, we are going to go to Hagerstown City's code page, which is hagerstowncode.org. And this takes you directly to all of the information, or most of the information that we're going to go over today. First, we're going to cover how to apply for a rental license. And as you can see, there's a number of options over here on the left-hand side. We're going to scroll down to licensing and we're going to click on rental licensing. This is some information about the rental licensing program and just some basic information. And on the right-hand side, you will see a new/renewal application. And you're going to go ahead and click on that. So I'm going to walk you through how you would apply for a new rental license. And when you enter this information, it comes directly to code compliance at hagerstownmd.org. That's a general mailbox that's checked multiple times throughout the day by myself and Paul. And so we take this information and this is how we would put it into the system. And I'm going to show you just as an example a property and how you would enter that information. Now for a new rental, you would not know your license ID number yet, so you would not need to enter that. So we're going to take the example of the property located at 437 Fair Meadows Boulevard. And there would be one unit at this property. And we'll continue. Now we'll enter Paul's information as the owner today. And he basically lives at 1 East Franklin Street anyway, so we'll put that as his address. And that's his phone number and his email address. And we'll continue. When you're entering information into this database, entering as much information as you know is very helpful to us. So for a resident agent, this is only applicable if it's a corporation or an LLC. And as you see, nothing here is in red. So that means that it's not mandatory that you enter anything. If you do see a red box, it means that you have to put something in there to proceed. So we don't need to enter anything in here because Paul doesn't have an LLC. Emergency contact, this would be, it could be the owner, it could be somebody that you trust, or if you don't live in town, it could be somebody who is in town, but we'll just say that he's the emergency contact and the same information here. Sorry. A designated agent, if it is the same as the owner, which it typically is, some people have property maintenance or property maintenance companies who take care of their properties. But in this case, we would just say the same. If you had other information, you could enter it here. This is where you would enter your lead paint information. If the property is built prior to 1978, it would be an affected property. So you would click on that box or check that box. If it's built after 1978, then it would not be an affected property. And this, in the red box, if it was an affected property, you would put your lead paint number here. We're going to say this is not an affected property, and we'll hit continue. Okay, we'll say that it is, and we'll enter a number. Okay, and then you're going to sign your name, and you have 3 options down here for payment. You can click to call owner for payment, and there is a $10 service fee to do that, meaning you would pay with a credit card over the phone. You could click email owner for payment, and once I received this in the co-compliance email, I would contact you with how you would like to proceed with payment. Or you can pay online, and we will go over that here shortly, how you would do that. So that's how you would submit a new rental license application.
You can just close that. There you go. Hold on a second, you're muted, Emily.
Now we're going
There we go.
Now we're going to go over how you would renew an application, and it's very, very similar to entering information for a new rental license. However, in this case, you would probably know your license account ID number, which is a 5-digit number located in the top left-hand corner of the applications that we send out starting in May. Our renewal period starts typically May 1st, and we send out up to 4 notices to let you know that your rental license is due. The rental license does expire July 1st, so having that in by June 30th is ideal. So to renew your license, you would enter your license ID number here. That's very helpful to us. If you don't know it, it's okay. We can look it up by your property address. Just be sure to enter that information and your number of units and all of the other information that we just went over. Okay, something else that I'd like to go over with you is how you would transfer your license information, meaning if you purchased a property, how would you notify us that you are now the owner? And you can also do that over here on the right-hand side. It says transfer license, change owner information. To make you aware, for the first 30 days that you would notify us of a change of ownership, there's no charge. 31 to 60 days after the transfer of license, there would be a $25 fee. And 61 plus days after that, you would have to apply for a new license. We do calculate those days based on the sale on SStat, the date on SStat. And we recognize that's not always completely accurate, but that will be the date that we use. If you are notifying us of a change of ownership during the rental renewal period, there also will not be a charge. So this is really easy, a really easy way to show us that you now own a property or there's been a transfer. And you just enter this information as you see in the boxes. If you know your rental license ID number, again, it's helpful to us, but it's not necessary. So you would enter it here. You can enter multiple property addresses in this box. Check what contact type you are. It's typically the owner. They usually are the one to notify us. Sometimes it is the resident agent or the property management company. And then all of your information. Anything that you can give us contact-wise is helpful. We do enter that into our database. And we are using email more as a means of communication. So if you give us our email, we will use that. So that is how you would notify us of a change of ownership. Okay. The next thing that I would like to show you what you can do on our website is how to schedule an interior inspection. And I've just clicked on the inspections page, and then over here on the left-hand corner is rental licensing inspections. You would click on this. And we get a lot of calls in our office with scheduling inspections, and that's absolutely fine. But we also want to point out that you can do it on our website, and it's very easy to do. You also don't need to be you don't need to be present at the property. You can enter a lockbox code or hide a key, and the inspector can access the property that way as well. If you wish to call us, this is the phone number that you would call, and then to make the request, you can just click on the code administration, and this will send us an email for your request. You can also view sample interior and exterior checklists of what the inspector will be looking for on that inspection, so you can know in advance what they'll be looking for when they come to do that inspection. I'm sorry, I was thinking about something else. Okay, so we're going to go back here to online services / report a concern. This is the next thing that you can do on our website, is report a concern in your neighborhood. This is another topic that we get a lot of phone calls in our office about, is reporting a concern or a complaint. You can do this on our website, also very easy to do. So if you have a concern about a property with high weeds and grass, or trash and debris, or they're not keeping up with the maintenance of the exterior, you can go ahead and submit that here by clicking on this. Again, being as detailed as possible is very helpful to us. We often get calls and the location might not be specific or all that accurate, and we're sending an inspector out to try to determine what's going on. And the more specific you can be with the street address and where actually the concern is, whether it's a front yard, side yard, backyard, whatever, it's very helpful. It saves time, and it allows the inspector to make sure that they're seeing what you are seeing. So you would enter all of the information. You can also add pictures. You can choose to upload files here, and all of the red boxes, again, you will need to enter something in, or you won't be able to proceed with submitting the complaint. Okay. Okay, so the other program that we do in our office is a vacant structure program. This program has been in effect for several years now, and my coworker Wendy Atha and myself work in this program. You can also register a vacant structure online, and you can report a vacant structure if you have a problem with one in your neighborhood. So To apply for a vacant structure online, you will see, you can go ahead and do, right, here's a vacant structure application. We do break them down. It's a residential versus non-residential vacant structure applications. The only difference is the non-residential means that it would be a commercial structure. We do register commercial vacant structures. There are different fee structures. If the property is considered condemned or in active foreclosure, the fee structure is going to be different than if it's a non-blighted residential structure, meaning that the property is being somewhat maintained, but it has been vacant and not used for quite some time. There are a couple of exemptions to having to register a vacant property. One of those would be if you had active permits, an active building, mechanical, electrical permit on the property, but you do have to be actively working. Just pulling that permit doesn't exempt you from having to register it. Also, if you have that property listed for sale with a licensed realtor and you're actively trying to sell it, then that would exempt you from having to register the property. And these are just copies of the application. So this is something that you could print off and send into our office via the co-compliance email. And then if you wanted to report a vacant property in your neighborhood, it's right here under vacant licensing. So you would report this way, very similar to the other pages, just entering the information in here and just the details of why you believe it to be vacant and that sort of thing. So that's where you would put that. All right, so another program that we work on are the unattended donation bins. So I've clicked on unattended donation bins and it'll bring you to some information about the program. We don't have very many in the city, but the purpose of the program is so that at one time they were a little bit of a dumping ground for clothing, household items, and they just kind of accumulated. But now that we have them registered in the program, we can track them, make sure that they are being maintained properly and not being used that way. So we do ask that if you want to have an unattended donation bin, you license them with the city, and you follow these guidelines, which are outlined here on this page, as well as a brochure that's here on the right, and the application as well. It's right here. The initial registration fee is $200, and we do re-register those annually. The fee is $100, and we do those in January of each year. Okay. Something else that the city has been working on is just some kind of outreach as far as what our department does, and webinars like these, trying to educate, just on some of the basic things that we do. And you can take a look at previous webinars and register for webinars coming up. And that I went a little quick there. That is right here on the left-hand side. It's called rental licensing webinars. So you click on that, and here are, down here, if you scroll down, previously recorded webinars, you can take a look at all of those, especially if you're a property owner or a property management company. Just taking a look at these to educate yourself as to what the code requirements are. These are very informative and I think useful. Also, you can click to register for ones coming up. The other thing that the city has done is called the Hubbub podcast, which I love that name, by the way. It's great. You can take a look at the Hubbub podcasts, and these are to educate the listeners on a topic as it relates to our department. For example, last month we did crime prevention through environmental design, things like keeping your shrubs trimmed back properly, providing lighting so that it deters any crime from happening around your property. They went over that in that discussion. And then this month they're talking about energy saving tips and ways to decorate safely during the holidays. So always good information there. And then the most recent thing that we've started is a newsletter, and that was just started in this previous July, where they're just little snippets of information about each of our departments, permitting, neighborhood services, code, that sort of thing. So there's always one tip per department. And again, it's very short and brief, but it's just used as an educational tool. And we are always looking for feedback. So if you want to see something in any one of those outlets, you can always reach out and let us know. We're always open to those suggestions. So now I'm going to show you how you would pay for specifically a rental license online. And we work out of basically two different systems. You can work on the code side of things, which I've taken you here to this page. And that's where you look up all of your information with relation to the code department. But if you want to pay for a license, you have to go to the city's website and use our portal. And we refer to that as Munis. So if you ever hear us talk about Munis, it's the system that we use on a daily basis. This is the city's website I've just clicked over onto. This is the main page. So this would be hagerstownmd.org. You can see it up here. This is where you would go initially. And again, you could also navigate to the code page by going to government, scrolling down to departments over here, and code administration and permitting. That's just another way to get to our page. And you can see that all of the other departments are located there as well. So if you want to pay for a license, you would scroll down to online services and click on online services. And then you'll see here, citizen self-service. This is what you're going to click on. You do not need to make an account to pay for a rental license. You don't need to. So don't worry with it. It's very simple. This is one of the things that I get the most calls about. How do I pay for my rental license online? And this is how you do it. So you go to business license. We refer to our rental licenses as business licenses. And you would click on that. And this is where you would enter your account ID. This is where knowing that 5-digit number that I've referred to is helpful to you for a number of reasons, but for the purpose of paying for your rental license, you'll want this number because this is the only piece of information you need to enter to be able to pay your bill. So I'm going to just pull up one property I just entered into the system this morning. And that's the rental license ID number for this property. I don't need to enter any other information. As a matter of fact, it bogs down the system if you do. So just go ahead and enter your account ID number and click search. And you'll see that this is a rental license that is ready to be paid. And you can click on pay bill. Oh no, I lost my page. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll go back. Okay, so again, you would just enter your account ID number and you would click pay bill. And that goes to our customer service department and they post the payment. And typically that payment can take up to 24 hours to post. And I do check those on a daily basis. So if you send me a rental license application, which it looks like this when it comes to me, you can see it kind of sort of, it's probably blurry, but I print that out. And if you tell me to call you, I'll call you. If you tell me to email you, I will email you to get payment however you'd like. If you want to pay online, you need to go from the code page of where you applied to the City of Hagerstown's page to make payment. So there's two different steps there. And I think that's where a lot of maybe some confusion comes into play. So there's two different systems that you need to work into. I think that is all for me. So I'm going to turn it back over now to Paul, who's going to go over how to look up permit and inspection history.
Well, thanks, Emily. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of just go over a couple things here. Emily's very versed on how to find things on the business license side. She deals that on a regular basis. And generally, a lot of times our office gets the calls about how do we need to look things up online for different inspection requests. And I generally field a lot of those calls as well. So we thought it'd be easier for us to pass these back and forth here. As Emily mentioned, the same place that you pay things online is the same place that you're going to go to look up the inspection results that you may have received via an email or knowing that you had an inspection done at your property. So you still click on the online services. And then as Emily had said before, that with looking up a business license, you didn't need to log in. So the same thing here. So you can click on the citizen self-service. And then rather than a business license this time on the like on the gray box on the right hand side, you'll see below it permits and inspections. And even though it says permits and inspections, it's actually any inspection that our department has done at your property is listed in this area. So it might say permits and inspections, but it actually is for any inspection done. Again, we get things out of the box, so we use what we can have access to. So what I'm going to do is bring up a property here that we have in Hagerstown. So this is 47 North Avenue. Now, the one thing that I want to point out is that this is 47 East North Avenue. But notice how for me to be able to look up the property, I cannot type in the prefix or the pre-direction, meaning that the east, north, west, or south types of things, because when people type that in, it won't be able to find the system. It's looking for the number and the street name. That's all it's looking for. So if you also type in any suffix, such as avenue, street, lane, park, whatever the scenario may be, that you are not going to be able to look anything up. So it's just basically the number and the street name. And you'll see that up here in the top box. I try to remind people when we go over these things, but it's in the top box as well, just so that you can fully understand. So we'll look up 47 East North Avenue here, and we're going to just search for this. Now, this property is owned by Alan Johnson. Alan Johnson is the president of the Landlord Association that's here locally, and Alan's pulled permits over the years and has had a number of inspections at this rental property. First, we're going to take a look at permits. So if a permit inspection was done, how am I able to look up the results of my inspection? I'm not going to be able to be at the site. I'm away from town. So if we look at the last permit here on the list, that we can see that we'll want to click on details then. So when we click on details, it's going to give us some general information. We can see this was a plumbing permit for an apartment, and it would tell us about the total fees that were paid and other types of information down here, that there was a PA final. What that means is a plumbing apartment final inspection. And you can see that inspections were listed here. So you can see the permits. They were halfway down on the screen, and inspections were at the very bottom. We only have one inspection at this property, so you can then click on the details of it if you wanted to, but you can see that the results passed. But if you click on details, it'll give you a little bit more information saying that the inspection was performed back in 2011, that the inspector from our office was Jim Sprecher, or former name James, and that the results had passed. So you can kind of get some more information about what happened on that inspection. Then up here in the right-hand type of screen, I want to return back to the application details. So I can certainly look up more information if I wanted to. If there were other permits that were listed, I can certainly look those things up as well and get more detailed information, such as like if I wanted to view application information, which is on this down in the top part of the screen, kind of towards the middle. That if one of you application information, that we could see that when the permit was received by our office, and then we can also see that what it was for, that it was for a boiler installation, so that the boiler was being replaced at the property. So again, to always go back, you don't click the back arrow up in the right-hand corner. We want to go back to return to permits and inspections. So now I've gone back to my inspection. I've looked at everything I wanted to see on these inspections as far as the permit goes, but I'm still in this property and I want to know more about it. So we don't have anything else to click here on back. We do not want to click on the back arrow on the left-hand side in the corner. We want to click on search results. So over on the left-hand side underneath application detail, you'll see search results. And that will take us back to our list that we had when I first clicked on the other one, kind of showing us what details we could get into. So that's how you can look up any type of permit information, and each permit's different. If it's a building permit, you can dive further down into it. You can see where the plan reviews are in the process. You can see which ones have been completed. And then also you can pay the fees here as well, just through that same portal, if there's a fee payment that needs to be done. At the bottom here, we have the inspections. So you can see there's a number of inspections that are listed here in this list. And then I like to always point out at the bottom, you see one of two. So you can certainly advance to the other page to see the more inspections that are here. For this purpose, today we'll just stay on this part. And now we can kind of see, all right, I've had some inspections that were done. And I'm going to look at this first interior inspection that was done here. So this was done back in 2015. So I'll click on details and I can see that the inspection was completed, that the inspector who it was and on what date it was done, and the results were passed. So I can actually see what the inspection results were. If I wanted to go further into this one for rental licensing type purposes or any type of property maintenance issues, we do get specific, and you can view on the inspection details on the checklist. Not going to get into that right this second. So you can kind of see how everything is listed right in this area, and you're able to look things up. If you want to look up another property, you just click on new search and you can look up another property. Again, it's going to be helpful with the addresses. So this time we're going to go to 382 Yorkshire and we'll click on search. And again, you'll be able to see that they have an application up here. It was a permit that they had received or obtained in 2018. And then now what we're going to do is that, again, you can see that there are a number of inspections that were completed here. We click on the second page. And again, we can see ones listed, but right here towards the bottom, reason why I chose this address is one we have done recently. So this was in October 12th of this year. But I wanted to point out with this one is that you can see the fail that is listed here. So we can click on the details and you can see that the inspection was conducted just on October 12th and who the inspector was Sue Kyler. But you can click on the view inspection checklist. And then this is where you can get some information about what exactly happened there on the property. So this was an exterior inspection where there was some protective treatment or chipping paint, where it was on the side porch or deck, and that where it had failed. That was the only item on this one. You can see the other ones. The not inspected, it doesn't mean we didn't inspect it. That's just a default for the system. So it just means that the only item that failed at the time of this inspection was that there was some chipping paint on the property. So you can kind of get some general information at this point, just to kind of get a better understanding of these. And then to go back, you click on view inspection details and you can see the stuff again. And then in the right-hand corner, you can see return to search results. So you can kind of see where some of those things are located when you're doing, when you want to review these types of things online. One of the things to be aware of is that when we enter the stuff into the computer, that stuff is live. So if you have an email address with us, like Emily went over during the application process, that if you have an email, certainly provide that to us, because then we'll actually email you a link to this page, not the one specifically for your department, but on how to look up your inspection result, or not for your department, but for your particular structure, that it will be able for you to be able to look things up and go in the system. Thing is, that is live, and there are two screens that the inspectors have to go through. So when they enter in the first one, you'll get the email saying that they did an inspection. When if you try to log in instantly, you're not going to see any results in there, and that sometimes leads to a lot of phone calls because the inspector's still entering the stuff into the computer. So just if you get an email, at least wait 30 minutes before you're trying to go into the system to look. It is all live, but you can't see as the inspector is entering things in at that point in time that they're in that one screen entering things in, and then once they click on save, then those fields will populate. So that can lead to a lot of frustration sometimes with our office, that not knowing what they got an email about, but not knowing how to access the stuff. So those are the items that I was just kind of going over for as far as some of the things you can look up on inspections. Emily's gone over a lot of other things with us here. So, you know, I thank Emily for taking the time to explain all of this stuff to us, because doing stuff online, everyone always feels like you can find anything online, which is true, but it's being able to navigate each thing online, which makes it more difficult. So Emily went over a lot of things that are available on our website, but you can see she only clicked on a few items while she was on the website showing us how to do things. There is many more things you can do on our website. So please always explore the website to try to figure things out and where things might be located. If you ever have any questions, you can certainly always email us at codecompliance@hagerstownmd.org so that we can be able to answer, you know, any questions you may have. For anyone that might have any questions right now, certainly you can tap or click on the Q&A button here in the Zoom platform to be able to ask those questions. Right now, I'm going to kind of go over a couple questions that we typically kind of get for things that maybe Emily didn't cover that we might be able to answer for you here if you're thinking about them. So Emily, you know, you went over a lot of things with us and you explained some things that we could do online, especially in that portal entry area. You explained how we can pay a rental license, and then I actually went over how you could potentially pay a permit that way too. Are there other things that any property owner could do inside that portal system?
Sure, you can also pay for your utility bills, your taxes, um, in that system as well. You do need to create an account though, and you saw that on the left-hand side of that page. So you'll need to create an account, and remember your password and your information to be able to log in. You can do that very easily to pay for those kinds of things.
All right, great. Well, so you gotta have an account to pay the utilities and stuff on there. But another question that we sometimes get is that, you know, I paid online, but it's still showing that the fees outstanding, but I already submitted my rental license. You know, do I need to give you a call to make sure that you got this payment, or how long does it take for this to get, you know, posted?
It can take up to 24 hours and sometimes longer, especially if you try to post over a weekend. So I would give it 24 to 48 hours. You can rest assured that you'll probably hear from me if the payment did not post within that period of time. So I will give you a call and follow up if that's necessary. If you don't hear anything and you submitted your information, you are probably okay.
All right, great. And then one other question that we generally get with these online things, especially like paying online and things of that nature, you know, are there any manuals that I could reference? You went over everything, and I don't have the capability to look at the screen at the same time and navigate myself. Are there manuals that I could actually view myself or even print out to use for future reference?
You can. I'll get you there. Okay. Bear with me for 1 second and we'll get there.
That's all right.
If you scroll down to online services, basically where I told you to report a concern, it's the same place that you'll look for your manuals. And this will take you step by step on how to do those things in the system. So right here is how to a manual for how to track permit status, a manual for tracking licensing property maintenance inspection results, and a manual for paying permit fees and license fees. So you can click on any one of these and print those out and use those for how-tos.
Great. Well, it looks like you all got a lot of things that can be used for how to access things once we're offline. So those are some of the standard questions that we kind of get. I'm not seeing anyone asking any questions right now. I don't think that means that we answered everyone's question that's watching today. Sometimes people just don't like to ask us, which is fine. That if you do have questions, please never hesitate to email us at codecompliance@hagerstownmd.org, where we can certainly answer those questions and maybe guide you down a path if you need to have some assistance on how to find something in a website. Emily always makes herself available to guide everyone through that process. Again, I want to thank everyone for being part of today's webinar, and be sure to follow us on our social media platforms as well. We have Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can always search for PCAD Hagerstown, and that's PCAD Hagerstown. And you can just look for us there, and please certainly like or follow. And again, I want to thank everyone just for participating in this webinar series. Our next one will be next week, where we'll be going over ceiling heights, what's required and where are there different parameters for ceiling heights depending on where you're located at in the structure. So please make sure you sign up for that one, and we look forward to seeing you then at the same time next week. Thank you.